Destry Rides Again was not just a comic western. It was a desperate, last-chance saloon for a star labeled box office poison, a politically charged comeback staged by European exiles, and a production so chaotic its most iconic scene was a real, brutal, unchoreographed brawl that left its stars physically scarred. Behind the singing, the brawling, and the story of a sheriff who will not carry a gun lies a world of off-screen passion, covert abortions, last-minute scripts, and a star who took the role not for fame, but as a secret weapon against the rising Nazi threat. This film did not just save a career, it hit a war mission inside a Hollywood hit. I am about to reveal 20 weird facts about Destry Rides Again that will change how you see this hilarious Western forever. And stick around for the bonus fact that exposes how this movie did not just parody the Western, it predicted and shaped its future for the next 50 years. Let us ride into Bottleneck. Number 20. The on-screen passion ignited a secret off-screen affair and a covert abortion. The electric chemistry between Marlene Dietrich's Frenchy and James Stewart's Tom Destry was not just acting. The two stars began a passionate, intense affair that lasted the entirety of the production, but the scandal goes deeper. Years later, Marlene Dietrich confided to director Peter Bogdanovich a shocking secret. She became pregnant during the affair and, without telling James Stewart, obtained a surreptitious abortion. This hidden personal tragedy adds a layer of profound, real-world melancholy to their on-screen romance. The playful tension and ultimate sacrifice of Frenchy in the film are forever shadowed by a private sacrifice Marlene Dietrich made in reality. Number 19. The epic catfight was a real, brutal, and unchoreographed brawl. One of the most famous bar fights in cinema history was not performed by stunt doubles and was barely planned. Director George Marshall intended to use doubles for the dangerous parts, but Marlene Dietrich and Una Merkel insisted on doing the entire brutal, hair-pulling, furniture-smashing melee themselves. They agreed to only one rule: no closed fists. What followed was an improvised, violent struggle. Una Merkel later recounted, "Marlene stepped on my feet with her French heels. The toenails never grew back." Both women were covered in bruises that lasted for weeks. The director captured the entire vicious sequence in a single, glorious take. Number 18. Marlene Dietrich took the role as a secret political mission against the Nazis. When producer Joe Pasternak offered Marlene Dietrich, a glamorous, European screen goddess, the role of a rowdy saloon girl in a Western, she had no interest. Her career was in ruins, labeled box office poison, and she was living in semi-retirement on the French Riviera. It was her friend, the famed German author Erich Maria Remarque, who convinced her. He told her the role would make her more American. Marlene Dietrich asked, "If I am more American, can I do more against the Nazis?" Remarque replied, "Of course." She took the part, seeing it as a platform to strengthen her position as a vocal and soon-to-be fierce anti-Nazi critic. Number 17. James Stewart was the last-minute, budget-conscious replacement. The iconic role of the pacifist sheriff Tom Destry was never written for James Stewart. It was first intended for Gary Cooper, who turned it down because he wanted more money than Universal was willing to pay. The studio also considered Joel McCrea. James Stewart, a rising star on loan from Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, was the affordable, available choice. This last-minute casting created one of cinema's most unexpected and perfect pairings, launching James Stewart as a Western hero and saving the production from financial collapse before it even began. Number 16. The script was being written as they filmed, page by page. The production was a masterpiece of Hollywood improvisation and pressure. Less than 50 pages of the script were complete when filming began. New pages, often written by Felix Jackson, Gertrude Purcell, and Henry Myers, were delivered to the set daily, sometimes mere hours before the scenes were shot. Director George Marshall's calm temperament was essential in managing this chaotic, fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants process. The entire film was crafted on the fly, with actors often learning their lines just before performing. Number 15. The censors cut one of Dietrich's most suggestive lines. The film pushed the boundaries of the era's production code. In one original scene, Marlene Dietrich's Frenchy, after a big win at cards, stuffed her cash down the front of her dress. Patting her chest, she delivered the brilliantly risque line, "There is gold in them thar hills." The censors initially approved it, but after a preview audience roared with laughter at the blatant innuendo, they got cold feet and ordered the line removed from the final film. Hollywood's moral guardians decided some hills were too dangerous to explore. Number 14. Dietrich's comeback was orchestrated by her greatest director, who told her to get dirty. Marlene Dietrich, hiding from her failed career in Europe, was advised by the very man who made her an icon, director Joseph von Sternberg. He had crafted her ethereal, untouchable goddess persona in films like The Blue Angel and Morocco. His advice for this role was starkly different. He told her, "I made you into a goddess, now show them you have feet of clay." He convinced her to trade aloof perfection for gritty, relatable humanity. This strategic descent from the pedestal is what made Frenchy a tough, vulnerable, earthbound woman so electrifying and successful. Number 13. James Stewart dumped water on the fighting women for hours, and it was not in the script. The chaotic climax of the famous catfight comes when Destry breaks it up by dumping a bucket of water on the brawling Frenchy and Lily Bell. Actor James Stewart's role in the scene was far more demanding than it appeared. He performed the dousing first in a long shot. Then, for close-ups, he had to do it again. Finally, Life magazine photographers arrived and demanded to stage the moment for pictures, forcing James Stewart to dump water on the already bruised and battered actresses repeatedly for hours. The method of calming the fight became its own form of torment. Number 12. The film's producers were German, émigrés obsessed with sauerkraut westerns. The deeply American film was filtered through a distinctly European sensibility. Producer Joe Pasternak and writer Felix Jackson were Hungarian and German émigrés who shared a childhood love of the wildly popular German pulp westerns written by Karl May. These sauerkraut westerns, full of romanticized and often inaccurate Old West adventure, shaped their vision. They decided to place the ultimate European star, Marlene Dietrich, into this most American genre, creating a unique cultural hybrid that gave Destry Rides Again its offbeat, original charm. Number 11. It features one of the first major women's uprising climaxes in a Western. Long before high noon, Destry delivered a radical finale. When the armed posse of men is locked in a stalemate with the villains holed up in the saloon, it is the women of Bottleneck who charge in to save the day. Armed with rolling pins, pitchforks, and gardening tools, they swarm the saloon, a chaotic, unstoppable force. The film's message was clear. The women, often sidelined in westerns, are the true moral and physical backbone of the community. This was not just a comic beat. It was a statement of female empowerment that would echo for decades. But before we get to the next fact, go ahead and like and subscribe because the top 10 facts get even wilder, from the surprising actor who inspired a Mel Brooks legend to the dark, personal war that unfolded just off camera as Europe burned. This saloon has got stories you will not believe. Number 10. Dietrich's Frenchy directly inspired Mel Brooks's Lili von Stupp in Blazing Saddles. The legacy of Destry Rides Again echoes loudly in one of the greatest comedy westerns ever made. Marlene Dietrich's performance, the German accent, the world-weary saloon singer persona, the song "See What the Boys in the Back Room Will Have," was the direct and explicit inspiration for Madeline Kahn's iconic character, Lili von Stupp, in Mel Brooks' 1974 masterpiece, Blazing Saddles. Madeline Kahn studied Marlene Dietrich's work, perfecting the exaggerated, sultry, and hilarious archetype that Marlene Dietrich herself had redefined. Number 9. The entire film was a gamble on an unlikely pair of mismatched stars. Universal Studios knew they were taking a huge risk. On paper, the pairing made no sense. Marlene Dietrich, the 38-year-old, sophisticated European icon with a fading career, and James Stewart, the 31-year-old, lanky, all-American fella next door who was just rising to fame. The studio gambled that this bizarre contrast would create sparks. They were overwhelmingly right. The unexpected chemistry did not just make the film work, it revitalized Marlene Dietrich and supercharged the path of James Stewart to legendary status, proving that the most unlikely combinations can produce pure magic. Number 8. For James Stewart, it was a career pivot he would not repeat for over a decade. Destry Rides Again was James Stewart's first Western, a genre he would later dominate. Yet, after its success, he did not make another Western for 11 years. He returned to the genre decisively in 1950 with the dark and brilliant Winchester 73, directed by Anthony Mann. That film kicked off a legendary series of Mann Stewart Westerns that would define the adult Western of the 1950s. Destry was the seed. It just took a world war and a decade for James Stewart to fully blossom into the genre's most thoughtful star. Number 7. The film's pacifist hero was a direct comment on the growing threat in Europe. Released in December 1939, just months after World War II began in Europe, the film's politics were no accident. Tom Destry's initial refusal to wear a gun, his belief in talk over violence, and the town's appeasement of the villainous Kent were clear parallels to the ongoing debates about isolationism and facing down fascism in Europe. The film's arc, where pacifism must eventually give way to righteous action to defeat pure evil, mirrored the painful realization dawning on America and the world. Number 6. It was Universal's biggest hit in the greatest year in Hollywood history. 1939 is famously considered the pinnacle of the Hollywood studio system, producing classics like Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz, Stagecoach, and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Amid these giants, Destry Rides Again was a resounding smash. It became Universal Pictures' biggest box office hit of that monumental year. It proved that even in a crowd of masterpieces, a witty, well-made, and star-driven genre film could capture the public's heart and wallet. Number 5. Dietrich's songs became her lifelong cabaret staples. The songs written for the film See What the Boys in the Back Room, Will Haven't You Have Got That Look by Frederick Hollander and Frank Loesser did not just serve the movie. They became integral to Marlene Dietrich's identity for the rest of her life. She performed them constantly in her legendary nightclub and cabaret acts for decades, from the stages of Las Vegas to her global tours. The movie did not just give her a comeback, it supplied the soundtrack for her second act as a live performer. Number 4. The town's corrupt judge was later Jimmy Stewart's movie father. In a sweet piece of Hollywood symmetry, Samuel S. Hines, who plays the crooked mayor and Judge Hiram Slade in Destry Rides Again, would reunite with James Stewart 7 years later for an iconic role. In Frank Capra's It Is a Wonderful Life in 1946, Samuel S. Hines played Pa Bailey, the kind-hearted, understanding father to James Stewart's George Bailey. The actor who played Destry's corrupt adversary in Bottleneck became his moral foundation in Bedford Falls. Number 3. The film sparked an entire wave of comic westerns. Destry Rides Again was a formula-shattering hit. Its successful blend of western action and sharp comedy created a new Hollywood template. The film's success prompted Universal, and soon other studios, to launch a whole string of semi-comic or outright comic westerns. It proved the genre could be funny and successful without losing its essential spirit, paving the way for everything from The Road to series to the parodies of later decades. Number 2. It was selected for the National Film Registry as culturally significant. In 1996, the United States Library of Congress selected Destry Rides Again for preservation in the National Film Registry. Films are chosen for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. The recognition cemented the film's status not just as popular entertainment, but as an important artifact of American cinema, a testament to its innovative blend of genre, its star power, and its enduring influence on the Western. Number 1. The film's success was so sweet, the director remade it shot for shot 15 years later. Few directors get the chance to literally remake their own hit. George Marshall liked Destry Rides Again so much that in 1954 he directed a color, widescreen remake titled Simply Destry, starring Audie Murphy and Thomas Mitchell. The remake is famously an almost shot-for-shot recreation of the 1939 original. It is the ultimate vote of confidence from a director in his own work, a rare case of Hollywood trying to bottle the same lightning twice with the same man holding the bottle. Bonus fact: the movie's true legacy is a character archetype it perfected, the anti-hero hero. The most surprising legacy of Destry Rides Again is a character blueprint it delivered to perfection: the reluctant hero who uses wit instead of bullets. Tom Destry Jr. is not a silent, violent frontiersman. He is a talker, a thinker, a pacifist forced into action. This archetype, the lawman or hero who rejects the very violence his role demands, became one of the most powerful in 20th century storytelling. You see Destry's direct descendants in Rick Blaine and Casablanca, in William Money's struggle in Unforgiven, and in countless modern heroes, from detectives to superheroes, who grapple with the moral cost of their power. Destry Rides Again proved that the strongest hero might be the one most hesitant to fight, an idea that continues to resonate wherever stories are told. Destry Rides Again endures because it is a film of brilliant contradictions, a European daydream of the American West, a career funeral that turned into a spectacular resurrection, a comic romp with a deeply political and tragic heart. It captured the moment Hollywood learned that genres could be bent, that stars could be reinvented, and that the most powerful stories often come from the most chaotic productions. Its legacy is in every Western that dares to laugh, in every hero who chooses a parable over a pistol, and in the undeniable truth that sometimes you have to get dragged through the mud to find your footing again. So the next time you see a hero outsmart a villain, or a singer stop a show, remember Frenchy in the saloon and Destry on the porch. They taught us that the West was not one with grit alone, it was one with guile, guts, and a great song. If you are fascinated by the chaotic alchemy behind classic cinema, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which other film's hidden backstory you want me to dive into next. Because in Hollywood, the greatest shows always happen behind the curtain.